dark in relation to you? Should I get
I,
the light
I
on behind me?
your light level is good. As we are having dark greetings for everyone here and watching. Welcome to our second roundtable from Tales from the Galaxies Opera House, at least in terms of recording order. Though this could very well be the first to show up on YouTube since your stories are getting published a little bit sooner. With me today is Kinda Sorta Maybe on the top right, author of our set Hearth Tale, and on the bottom right is animator Ben, who has made all of our images for the interior, as well as Velvy, the BD 3000's tail. And on the bottom left, I have with me Bart Russell, who wrote our Sweet Concord tale. Does anybody have other introductions to make about themselves? Any other names we should know you as? Kind of, sort of, maybe sometimes goes by Travis Anthony on our prints.
Yeah, it's my print name.
Yes, always good to have a good pen name. And I see you got the A New Hope poster hanging out in the background.
It's supposed to go on the wall over there, but I need to get a whole scaffolding set up to put it there because there's a staircase. So
yeah, you seem like you got a lot of stuff for your walls.
Yeah, I can't bear to have an empty wall.
Yep.
So
you still working on getting that galaxy map?
I have no idea where I'm gonna put it. So I'm gonna figure that out, and then I'm gonna just copy your background there.
Yes. He was inspired by my own galaxy map that I got behind me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I saw it and I was like, I need that.
Right.
Yeah. I have a map of
I'm kind of feeling that way too.
over there. And
it's super helpful sometimes when I'm writing stuff to not have to dig out my essential atlas, where I can just be sitting on the couch and then spin around and be like, oh, there's a planet that it's handy, though sometimes distracting.
Right.
Yeah. Pros and cons. And you've been with the Tales project for 2 iterations now, is that right, Travis?
Yes, it is. I was I wrote one for Outlander Club and back at it again.
Yep. And how exactly did you get recruited into that process?
Let's think.
Were you a re-expanded first or a Tales first? Because you see it both ways, where some people do the re-expand, get into our Hand of Thrawn fanfics and all that stuff, and then they see we're doing these Tales and join them. And a lot do the reverse, where we get a lot of people for RE with the Tales.
Well, it all started, I was browsing Reddit one day. That's how all horrible things start, I guess. And I see this guy's bookshelf on, I think it was r/Star Wars books, and I see this trilogy I don't recognize. And what's that? What's Despot's Dream? And I asked, and he's like, oh yeah, it's a fan fiction. And he sent me a link. And then from there, I went and I asked about it on Brennan's server, which I was already on. And then I was sent a link to the Discord. And then from there, just talking to people, and I found out about the Outlander Club anthology. And then I was like, oh, I have an idea for a tale. And I asked Ken, and he was like, that sounds cool. And yeah.
All right. And maybe to go back a step further, overall, how was your introduction to Star Wars? What brought you to r/Star Wars books?
So it all started in summer of 2014. I was 8 years old.
Okay.
Me and my dad were at Target, and he's like, hey, we're getting this. And it was the Star Wars trilogy, the original Star Wars trilogy
the DVDs.
on Blu-ray.
Oh.
Yeah, and he's like, "You're gonna watch these," and I was like, "All right, cool." And then it just snowballed from there, really. So that
Yep.
was like 12 years ago now. So
Nice.
Can I say that when you say back in 2014 I was 8, that makes my back hurt so hard.
yeah, yeah, those were the days. Never got better than that.
All downhill with Disney.
Well, it's ups and downs. It's ups and downs. I'll tell you.
Yeah, you're not a total Disney hit. You had your
I'm a
couple
sequel
references
hater
to
and
some
an
of the
acolyte hater, but other than that, I just like Star Wars, and there's good ideas everywhere. I think.
Can we
And
put
bad
an
ideas everywhere? You
Can we
know?
put an asterisk next to that acolyte hate that the villain and the fights were absolutely great?
Oh yeah, I agree.
Sure.
I don't think there's
Yeah, it's just the messaging of the acolyte. Like at the end, I was like, wait, what's the theme? And then I was like, what are they saying? And it's like, wait, this was not good. This was a bad decision they made. Yeah.
I feel like it was messy, but I don't think it had so many problems that a second season couldn't have saved it.
Yeah, but like the first episode when the Neomoidians had American accents, I was like, what did they do? So
They ruined my Nemoidians.
yeah, give them the Thai accent again. You know, it's just
It's
funny.
iconic.
It's funny stuff like that.
Yep.
But,
Yeah, sometimes it's just it's those little things that are so jarring, where you get so used to your Star Wars being in a very specific way.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think my moment like that was the Gamorreans in Book of Boba.
Yeah,
They were like they still had their bellies, but they were like they had fit legs and arms, and they weren't the plump, fat Gamorreans from Return of the Jedi.
Well, they were on a diet.
Well, they had a
They
completely
Pretend they ate all
different
their
body
food.
structure. Like they went out of their way to give them like a storybook ogre kind of proportions for Return of the Jedi, and then they just painted a big dude green and gave him a big mask.
Yeah. When I was a kid, they reminded me of the pigs from Angry Birds.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit.
Like that was just the first thought. Again, it was 20.
I actually used that motif in my Nuna story where.
Oh, you did? Yes, that was good.
Yeah.
So the fight in the basement of the Outlander Club is between a green Gamorrean kid and an angry bird. What's that species
Corsav.
called?
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
You did a Corsav. Yep, you did a
Yeah.
very angry Corsav.
So what Quizux is or no?
No,
This is a bird thing.
it's the species that is seen briefly for like a second in I
Oh, the
think the
legs.
special edition of Mos Eisley Cantina. It's you see between the legs of a giant like ostrich.
Right.
Like the camera is like a low level, and you see these legs kind of like pan across the screen, and then there's like anyway, and then it shows the rest of the street. And that's the Corsav species.
Do I remember that?
Maybe it was even a deleted
To be
scene.
honest, I don't recall that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very brief shot.
I think I'm just
and
when I watch the
then-
special. I'm just
sorry.
distracted by the CGI green giraffe thing in that scene. I'm like, why'd they put that there? What's it called? I knew the name at some
Rontos?
point. Maybe.
The Rontos? The
Oh, maybe.
dinosaur-looking things?
Yeah.
Isn't there one with like a longer neck though?
Yeah, that thing.
Ronto. It's Ronto. The one with the Jawa on it that falls and tied onto the leash.
Yeah,
It's a
so I'm
Ronto.
probably focusing on that and not seeing the ostrich walk by.
Yeah. So anyway, speaking of tales from your tale from the Outlander Club, Ben, that was your first soiree writing with us, although you've been around the project for all 3 iterations as an artist.
Right.
How did you get? Well, first, how did you get into Star Wars, and then how did you get roped into drawing? Probably you made what, like 80 some pieces at this point?
It's pretty close. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah. So I got into. I'm like 45, so um, I got into Star Wars in the 80s as a kid. I don't remember not knowing the plots. I don't remember not knowing Star Wars. Um, my second memory is Han and Chewbacca going into light speed. Like my second memory ever is them on cable going into light speed in A New Hope. And my babysitter pulling me out the door and being like, "No, no, I want to see that." And yeah, and then so yeah, I grew up on the VHS tapes, the old school pre-special edition stuff, and I bought a box set of those so that I could watch specifically just that version, and that really hits the nostalgia pretty hard, harder than HD big screen special edition stuff. But and then for what was your second question? How did I get into?
Yeah, how did you get roped into drawing all these characters?
I think Ken Palpatine found me maybe on Instagram because I was posting pencil art of like Tales from Jabba's Palace stuff, and I think he commissioned me to do a drawing for him for his Jedi Prince fan fiction, and then I saw that you guys were working on the Tales from the Boon to Eve Classic, and he asked me if I wanted to draw the characters. That was like, sure, that sounds great.
So you've always had a little bit of a soft spot for the Tales. You were doing Tales from Jabba's Palace art, and now you're getting in even more into Tales from Jabba's Palace with stories for all the special edition characters.
Right? So, yeah, that's blowing up.
So some things change.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that because I have a ton of notes on the. I was working on a Tales from Jabba's Palace like movie trailer, and taking note of all of the cool bits in those books, and figuring out all the continuity things like all the characters that survive, Jabba's sail barge blowing up, all the characters that get their brains taken out and stuck in the spider bot monk things. Just all key scenes where like there's like a dozen characters doing specific things in those scenes and taking note of all of that going on at the same time. And so I was like really prepped for like having the Rystal Sant character journey through all of that, through all the continuity of not just Return of the Jedi, but the Tales from Jabba's Palace. So that's super fun.
Yeah, and then finally Bart Russell. How did you get into Star Wars, and then what brought you here for your first writing in the Tales?
Yeah, I must have started on Star Wars somewhere early 90s. I'm turning 40 this year. I know I was a fan before the special editions already, though I never owned a box set before the special editions. We talked about the special editions a bit before, and I must add that I can never hate the special editions because they are why I can say I saw all Star Wars movies in the cinema. It's because they made the special editions, they made them available again. It was 97, right? So I was like 10, maybe 11. And I already knew Star Wars good enough to understand which scenes were old and which were new and which were altered. So my dad and I were amazed by Jabba turning up in A New Hope. That was the first really, really new scene. And as for the Tales thing, the reason why it's sitting next to me, it's Ben. We are part of a fan club for another artist, Will Noons, and Ben was sharing his art, and I'm still kicking myself that I didn't ask through about the Tales from the pod race thing, because that's one I was 13 when the Phantom Menace came out. I can never hate the Phantom Menace. It's just so much fun. But I'm here now, and I got in early enough to have the Parasaurolophus. So
Yeah, and you're clearly a Jar Jar fan from your Discord username. I guess the people online might not be as familiar, but you go by base Jar Jar enjoyer. So you never got too big into that like red letter media type crowd of
Right.
Star Wars was only good back in the original trilogy era.
Star Wars is Star Wars. Star Wars is fun. It doesn't need to be highbrow for me. I can enjoy Anakin trying to be coy with Padme. I can enjoy it all. It's fine.
Yep, there's definitely a range, and it is good to be able to enjoy it all. And then you ended up with Sweet Conquer Kill.
Yeah.
That was. Were you a little bit later in the process? I think a decent amount of characters were taken at that point, right? Or
I was. I think like maybe 10 people still came in after me, so I wasn't really the end of the line.
Middle of the pack.
I will say at this point, excuse me if I pronounce it wrong, because you now say Sweet Conquer Kill. I always thought it was Sweet. It might be my Dutch pronunciation.
I don't know if there's any canonical pronunciation of any of these characters.
Right.
And even like I was amazed. Lately I've been going through my new essential guide to alien species I got over here. And there's so many, it's got a pronunciation guide, and there's so many species that I've been talking about and knowing about for years that I'm learning now are not pronounced like at all how you would think. Like Masameta's species is apparently the Chagrians and not Chagrian. Or like same thing with the CH in Chevin, it's actually Chevin. Like there's just according to the species guide, there's some that I don't think I'll ever be able to adapt to. I might just be stubborn. But that's the weird thing with EU is you just never really hear things pronounced.
Let's remember that the official people are also the one who say tentative has to be pronounced tentative. So they're not always right.
Yep.
I remember when I was reading Darth Plagueis, I kept pronouncing Saint Pestage as Saute Pistache. And then I was in voice chat on the Discord, and I was talking about some stuff I was reading in Darth Plagueis. And someone was like, who? And I was like, Saute Pistache, the guy. And they're like, no, you mean Saint Pestage. I'm like, oh, that makes more sense. It's not as cool, though. Oh, well. Yeah. Every name, I'm like, all right, here's a gamble. Yeah.
Yeah, there's somewhere, and you just never really know who's right for sure. But for a while, I remember being real weird with some planet names, where I always pronounce Kuat as just caught for some reason. like as if it were like Kaut. I don't know, and some of the names I just like mentally simplified or got rid of various vowels that I felt like weren't needed.
Oh, I remember the heir to the empire, the Ysalamari, the Force Bubbles. Like, I had no clue how to pronounce those names. It was just in my mind for like basically decades.
Do you have the correct pronunciation now? Can you enlighten us?
Oh,
I'm not really sure.
It might be in my book.
I thought the Y was silent.
I could just. Be
I've
totally
always
wrong.
assumed. Let's see if they're in the.
I should know. They're in my story.
I never get silent letters. It's not as much a thing over here. We definitely have them, but not as much.
And then the Sparty cloning cylinders. Is it Sparty or Spader?
I like pronouncing it Sparty, but it's probably wrong.
Yeah. So the rationale with the double letters in those, well, with all the other clones that have the double vowels, is the lore says, I think, that like they're called that because the clones have these like weird issues where they sometimes have these like hiccups in their speech where they're pronouncing extra vowels. So I would assume it's like Lauk or Jeruus or Spaarti. But
I thought that
and Cyboth's name too.
Chorus Sabaoth.
Reading the last command, I just kind of assumed it was so that we can tell who's doing what, and it's not like it's like we know which Luke is which. That's what I
that was probably the real reason. So
I assumed it would just be longer vowels because Dutch does that, Japanese does that. Like it would be Luke instead of Luke.
Yeah, could be. So anyway, maybe getting us a little bit on topic to the first of the stories, if we go in release order, I believe is Set Hearth. So maybe start off kind of sort of maybe what exactly got you so obsessed with Set Hearth?
Well, I started my I don't know, but the first novels I read in the EU were the Darth Bane trilogy, and I remember I would look up like everything on Wiki, and there's this one character in Dynasty of Evil, Darth Bane 3, named Set Hearth, and this is kind of a spoiler, but the end of Dynasty of Evil, he gets Darth Andedu's holocron, and he just steals it, and we don't see it again until like Republic, which these things are all coming out around the same time. And
Dooku has it somehow.
Yeah, he sent Quinlan Voss to Set Hearth's Korriban crypt that he has to go steal it, which happens within the first year of the war. And so I was just like, well, And then I looked on Wiki, and according to one of Set Hearth, he originated in the RPG supplements as just a random Dark Jedi you could put in any era from New Sith Wars to New Jedi Order. And so they're like, yeah, he survives past New Jedi Order, whatever. And I was like, that's weird. And then I looked at appearances, Dynasty of Evil, that's it. We only have like the beginning of his story in the original outside of like re-expanded. And I was like, that can be expanded upon, I think. And that's how I kind of landed on that character.
Yeah. So in Outlander Club, I mean, generally the rule with these tales is that the title character is somebody that's showing up in the film. Set Hearth doesn't actually show up in the or was there a guy that you saw in the movie that made you say, you know what, I'm allowed to do Set Hearth again?
Well, so in Outlander Club, I follow this character named Snay Wuo, which is a pronunciation I made up because I don't know, who cares? And I'm like, all right, she's a HoloNet reporter, which I made up, and she runs into Set Hearth, and then she figures all this stuff out and wants to get an interview with him, and that's really the tale, and it's just really like to reintroduce him into the narrative after like 900 some years of not being in anything. So that was kind of the point of that. And then from there, I just kind of pick up in what's it called? Galaxies Opera House with like, he's at the Galaxies Opera House, trust me. So I just kind of made that up. It's like, it's a big place. It's fine. And Ken was like, he's not in the movie though. And I'm like, yeah, but it'd be cool. And then Ken was like, you're right, it would be very cool. So we're gonna let you do it. And that's kind of how I got in.
Yeah. And then you just kind of ran with that as sort of a way to just show off all the wackiest stuff in the Star Wars universe, basically.
Yeah, it'll happen again.
Again?
If you let me, I don't know. But like, I just love showing all like the weird stuff. Like, where I love it when you're reading something and you're like, what am I reading? What even is this? You know? Like, what is this thing? And why is it on the page here? Where like
That was every single page of as soon as they entered Atha Prime's lair. Well, even before. Yeah, the whole story was just a ride in terms of was a lot of those things just stuff you stumbled upon on Wikipedia? Because I've
some
read
things I
around a
already knew
decent
about,
amount,
and I
and
definitely went and asked around. And like, what should I include? I want weird stuff, you know. So that was kind of how I landed with the story I got, and then I just kind of went with like, well, what makes sense to do, and also what's the cool thing to do, and I just threw a bunch of stuff in, and I made it work. I think. I don't know. I did my best.
yeah, yeah,
A horror
and
zoo.
sorry, what was that?
A horror zoo, a zoo of horrors.
Yes, that is pretty much what it was.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of really dark stuff.
Most
mean-
limbs ever severed, I think, probably too.
Watson, be quiet. My dog's whining.
Yeah, there's a lot of severed limbs in Star Wars, but that definitely has to be up there for a lot of severed limbs and very just kind of very depressing. Like, did you ever just have a moment when writing this where it was like, you're like, I want to write something that's a little bit happier? Like, you ever
Yes.
just, are you okay?
Yes. So basically, when I killed off the first character, I was like, man, I've written this character. He's my baby. And now he's dead and I'm killing him. And then, like,
Everyone's a
I
goner.
did that with like 8 Jedi. And I put I tried to put thought into every character I made up. And some got more love than others because I only had so much time. But with every one that I murked, it was like the meme with the kid with the Glock and he's crying. It's like, you know.
Yep. Yeah, it seems like there's just this very clear sort of trend where the more you like a character, the worse their fate is. Where like Atha Prime's totally evil and he gets off scot-free, and Set Hearth is like definitely easier to cheer for than Atha Prime, and he's dead but also able to survive. And then the Jedi and the clones, they're like the good ones, and they just they take a
they don't get a break.
It's like
Brendan asked that I
the
let
job
one
ever
of
for
them
them.
survive. Like Brendan was editing, he's like, I really like this character. Can I please write for him? And I'm like, he kind of dies, but I could write around it. So I just have him get crushed by a bunch of things, and then I don't remember how I worded it, but like he might have died, and I just move on.
Oh,
so
which
Brendan
one was
could
that?
That was Shiwu, the Kushiben.
Kushiban Jedi? Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Where like he was throwing the
Alright,
Sparty
well, I'll look.
chambers, and then his lightsaber got deactivated by a cortosis weapon
Yep.
while he was fighting off a bunch of guys. And then it fell on him, and then he's not in the story anymore. And we don't talk about him anymore in the story. So Brennan can pick that up whenever he wants. And yeah.
I have no doubt that Brennan will have him do something at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll see him in Tales from the Underworld one day.
Cool. And then I have a lot of ideas. I don't know. Question.
A lot of ideas about stuff with future Tales, you mean, or with that character
Yeah, so many.
specifically?
That's so much. Like I'll
Yeah.
just DM Ken, and I'm like, "Hey, idea," and it's like, "Good idea, not right now." Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. You were told not right now. Maybe. Maybe maybe the most of any author. You had a lot of other stuff that could have been in your tale, sort of expanding the grandeur and the wackiness of everything, because you wanted to throw in a clone of Anakin, was that right?
That was an idea, but then I decided to not do that. And then I had the idea to throw in a clone of Luke.
Luke
And then I
isn't
was like,
even.
how would that even work? And then I thought, well, Padme's pregnant with Luke. If he can get the Luke from the DNA from embryo Luke, then he could like age up Luke really fast because Alpha Prime can just do that. Like you see him do that in Skywalkers. He like grew a clone of Anakin in like 2 hours. And so he can do that for Luke. And then everyone
Yeah.
fights Luke and it'd be so cool. And then Ken was like, it was either you or Ken. It was like, no, you can't do that. That's cool. You can't do that.
I didn't even know about that about the Luke one until now. I know.
Oh.
As preparation for these, I usually go back to the channels and just like read through all the messages. And I do remember you sending a message of, can he fight Anakin? And Nick said no to that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think with Anakin being a no, Luke was a double, triple,
He's not even
quadruple.
born yet.
Yeah. Yep. And then what else? Oh, you were gonna make Set Hearth like the ancestor of every Jedi with silver hair.
Not every human Jedi, but a lot of them. And
Genghis Khan of Jedi.
yeah, that might still be true, but I didn't have time to flesh that out in this story. Yeah.
Yep. And you wanted to have him foresee the Yuzan Vong, which irked me because the Vong are supposed to be part of the Force, so I made you remove that. And
yeah.
I apologize if
Quiet.
I was too harsh on all the cutting.
I'm definitely going to shorten a lot. I haven't really finished it, but I'm going to shorten a lot of the stuff you said. Cut this or this. I'm probably going to like consolidate things, but keep all the major beats.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that works out by release.
Yeah, the Star Weird and Otondo scenes just felt kind of redundant to me. So, as the audience knows better than we do, weirdly, because we'll wait until after the stories are out. But we're recording this all well in advance, so we don't know exactly what the final cut of Set Hearth's tale is going to look like. But as of right now, it's 14,000 words, and we're hoping to trim that a little bit.
I think I got it down to 13.5.
Oh, nice. Okay, it was 14 before I looked at it. Earlier this week.
Yeah, I had that like random conversation they have with that random person.
Yeah,
Watson,
that one.
Be quiet.
What was the point of that?
I just thought it was funny.
Yeah. So maybe for our audience who hasn't had a chance to read it, if you really want more Set Hearth content out there, know that this is if you're a Set Hearth super fan, this is like your 4-hour version of Revenge of the Sith. Where out there's a scene where Set Hearth has a random dude mistake him for somebody else, and he's got to like ad lib some stuff. And it was like just kind of silly, and I felt like it didn't add too much to the story. So that was
kind of the point. But then I saw the word count, and I was like, you know what? Yeah.
Every once in a while, we editors have some good ideas. That's why they pay us the big bucks. No.
My earbuds are stuck in the, or no, my wire's stuck under the chair. One sec.
So,
If you
all right. Well,
stuff, you mentioned the Star Weird feeling superfluous. I felt like the Star Weird, beyond it being something I'd heard of before, unlike the thing that happened early in the story, I thought the Star Weird was the moment I realized, okay, it's not just one insanely weird, evil horror thing. This is going to be a whole flat whole building filled with these things. So I really liked that moment.
yeah.
And they just keep opening doors to like the next horror thing. It's just
Most
like
of the time, they would open the door, shoot everything in there, and then keep walking.
Yep.
That's how bad
Maybe
the
the next
whole
day will be better.
place was.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out a good balance here because and then on the other end of on the other end of the spectrum you got Darth Lulu who's got to figure out how to fit everything into a
Right.
single volume book.
Yeah.
And I don't want everybody to need a magnifying glass to read everything.
Right.
Tales from the Outlander Club is like 780 pages, I think.
Wow. It's
If
the
you
longest
print
Star
it.
Wars book.
Yeah. Well, this one is going to be longer than Outlander Club,
What?
but I think
Oh my.
it's going to be more words than Outlander Club, but I think we can get more words per page and get it a little bit smaller. I think it'll be in the 700. It'll be in the range of like 700. We'll see. But yeah, I tried reading Outlander Club in paperback. It's great to preface this by saying it's a super cool project, and like especially once you've been a part of it, it feels so cool to be able to see it on your shelf. If I want to read an Outlander Club story though, I'm gonna go to AO3 because that book is just like it's like takes so much force to like stay open because it's just so big the pages
Right.
want to like close. It's kind of a rough experience. So
is the hardback better?
the hardback I don't have. But I mean the hardbacks I know are a little bit easier to work with just because the book the pages are taller and wider, so
Right.
you can definitely fit more per page.
More torque.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, if you go to the mega folder, you can see. I just like my paperbacks because I'm cheap. And because once you start with them, then it's like, well, I kind of want my whole collection to match.
Right.
Yeah.
All of the official tales were just paperback too, right? I never saw them in hardback, at least.
Yeah.
Yes.
They had the 3 for the original trilogy in one, I think, from the Science Fiction Book Club version. Is that right?
Yes, I believe somewhere out there. I don't think there's a ton that got printed, but I do think they did a run where it was all 3 books smushed into one hardcover, which must be really big.
There's
I don't have it.
There's 5 though, right? There's not.
Oh, just the 3 movie tales. The
Yeah.
3 the Cantina, Bounty Hunters, and Jabba's Palace. Yep.
Yeah.
But then there's Tales from the Empire and Tales from the New Republic, and there's
Yeah, those are the ones I was.
Those are very different feel because
Yeah.
the movie tales, to my knowledge, were all original to those books, whereas
Right.
the other ones were just sort of a best of the adventure journals.
right.
Where
Yeah.
they were just
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so basically every, or at least most of them, I think, I think the Side Trip novella and Interlude at Darknell might have been particular, but like, if you look up any of the stories in New Republic, for example, like a lot of them, I'm pretty sure, had been in Star Wars Adventure Journals beforehand.
I think you're
So
right.
it was just sort of a collection. And one of the downsides with that means that these books are a lot more disconnected compared to the movie tales. so you can skip around in it, and the tails don't really relate. So it's a very different feel than what we've been doing.
Sure.
But speaking of connections, Ben, you had a whole lot of connections in your tale because you were collaborating a lot with Captain Henson. Is that right? To
Oh yeah.
maybe switch gears onto our next tale in the order. You had all kinds of stuff planned with Ristel Sant having a journey that sort of wove between these two stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a lot of fun collaborating with him. Trying to figure out Griata and Rystall's path through all of this, and the source material, like the blurbs about the characters, are kind of. It took me a long time to figure out all of the chronology of 12 band members, because I had to figure out all of their to get to tell
Yep.
Rystall's tale. I have to know what are all the band members doing. So I have to figure out the chronology of 12 characters and Griata and everything, and that took a long time.
Yeah,
it was fun though. But yeah, then just trying to figure out how old were they in Revenge of the Sith. We basically made them 20, so they're like 45 or something in Return of the Jedi Special Edition. And then we had to figure out the events of just when Griata gets worried and sends the bounty hunter Cathar out to take out Shizor and rescue Rystall Sant, and all of those kinds of events were.
Yeah, that was kind of that was originally going to be sort of the central plot line of your two tales, right? Was going to be this mission where Cathar tries to go rescue Rystall, and then it sort of got maybe demoted a bit as both those tales ended up taking place a lot earlier in the chronology for the most part.
Like my tale wasn't predominantly about Cathar's mission to save Rystall. It was mostly just about Rystall's just oppression of her, being pursued by Prince Shizor and captured by Shizor, and being Shizor's forced consort because Shizor kidnapped her parents and held them hostage for that time, and then her getting how she gets out of that, like just her plight was the backbone of it.
So what was the original scope though? Because I know that was something that kind of morphed a lot over time. Was the climax of the story originally going to be the part with Lando winning her freedom? Because that's how that does all end up, if I recall, right?
Right. I mean, it's Rystall's. What's Rystall's doing from the Opera House? I mean, we see her on screen in Revenge of the Sith until Jabba's sail barge blows up, basically, and so a lot of that's in the source guides, the source materials of Shizor taking an interest in Rystall, blackmailing her into a relationship, and getting freed in a I don't even know how to play. I don't even know how to say Sabak, the card game.
Sabak.
Getting freed by Lando serendipitously. All of that was the plot of her backstory that I was.
Yep, from the source books.
Right.
And then was Shizor was not one that was seen at the Opera House in the movie, although we briefly thought we might have.
Right.
And then we were.
There's a character that's wearing purple and gold robes. He seems to have green skin. He seems to have a black ponytail. He's talking to an escort droid. He's living the Coruscant high life. Like, this is like, how is this not Shizor? And then this bows over here says it's a fucking Gungan. I'm sorry, my language. I'm glad. Yeah, and then it's one of those things like now you can't unsee it. He's an exact copy of all the other Gungans. He's wearing the exact same clothes of like the 6 other Gungans. There's like 5 in the far background, and there's one Gungan walking up the stairs. And so yeah, if you know what you're looking for, you can go like, yeah, that's exactly him.
Good.
And yeah, so I just rolled that into the story where Velvy, the BD-3000 escort droid, bumps into him and thinks he's Shizor for a brief moment. And then he's like, "Who's you so looking for?" And she's like, "Not you."
Yep. Okay, that's why that little bit was in there. And then
makes sense.
that also got to work in weaving well with your previous tale, where we had been introduced to that Gungan, Jack Pole, right? He was tending the Nunas way back in the day.
Right. That came from Jack Pole came out of figuring out the new what Nunaball's about and find out that Gungans are their handlers. And then I wanted a personal, POV character of like, well, this has got to be interesting for some reason. So I Jack Pole is a loose adaptation of Jake Paul as a
Oh, duh.
Oh,
Not think of that.
I like him less now.
well, you're not really supposed to like him, but
Yeah.
but yeah, so he's a HoloNet influencer, and he's built up a fan base. He's just doing Nunavall pranks and gets a big following across the galaxy. And then by the time of the Opera House, I lean into him being sort of a Borat kind of character, where he uses a sort of dumb, unassuming Gunganness to get elite senators to say stupid things about the war.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
And then then it's his shtick versus Velvy's shtick, and he perks up when he hears that Velvy works for Prince Shizor, so he's like, "Oh, I can mess with this somehow," and so they get into a little spat, and that precipitates. This is Shizor's bad day; like everything's going wrong for Shizor in this story, and so finding Jack Pole messing with his escort droid and preventing her from doing her job. And like he's just pissed at that point, and he just basically focuses all of his failure rage on Jack Pole in that moment and tosses him off the balcony because he just hates him.
Yeah, I like how it worked too to sort of explain away the laziness of Lucasfilm copy pasting the same costume for all the characters,
Right,
all these Gungan characters of like that he's got this sort of following where they're all dressed up after him to show their support.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they basically put on nice look. Like, one of them just goes out and buys like clothes that'll get them through the doors and make them look normal in that setting. And then Jack Pole whips his off, and he's just doing his shtick for his HoloNet audience.
What I liked a lot about this part was so Shizor yeets him off the balcony, and the other Gungans start to notice, and then you make Jack Pole comes back over the comlink and like, I'm still falling. You immediately remember, yeah, it's Coruscant. You're gonna fall for like 5 minutes before you hit the floor. That's
and they're like he's got the tracker where they see, oh, he's right here, and then they turn on the vertical axis.
It's such a Gungan thing to forget the vertical axis. That's
well, then
Gabriel, perhaps now would be a good time to get
he says, when's somebody gonna invent the ground? Because he's just like, the suspense of not dying is killing him.
And then I recall one of your premises with the story was that originally this was going to have Velvy also seeing a few more characters from the other tales. Was that correct? Where you sort of wanted to make it kind of a little taste of some of the characters that would later have their own tales. Do I recall that was a little bit of an ambition to feature a lot of other people's characters?
I mean, I'm trying to weave in connections. Like not really. I mean, Velvy was basically, okay, there's an escort droid at the Galaxies Opera House. What does she do? What are all the other escort droids doing there? And I'm assuming they're in the lore, they're considered not fashion or status symbols. Like if you have this expensive droid or whatever, that's a good thing. So it's like, what are they doing if they're, soliciting, for Shizor? It's like, okay, well, maybe Shizor buys, off the shelf luxury droids, upgrades them, and then flips them, basically sells them back into the market. And he uses those deals to garner other kinds of support or other kinds of deals. Like, you sell someone this droid, this affluent person, and then that starts connections and you get other deals out of that. And so that was the idea there. And then what, the basic premise was that she goes up to a whole bunch of different aliens and people and uses different seduction styles and just effortlessly flips between styles and plays different people off of each other, and she's just in her element doing her thing and just trying to have fun cutting right through all sorts of the weird alien politics and hang-ups and weird stuff of, how does that go? So
Yep. Yeah, she's in her element, but also she keeps having bad luck because kind of Shizer's bad day is also her bad day.
Right. I needed her to be good at her job, like really close to winning, but not quite winning because she also had to lose. So
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of losses that weren't really her fault per se.
right.
Most obviously, you think of the Trandoshan one.
I loved that part. I thought that was great. Like when
And
he's like
then-
getting strangled, and he's like, "Sorry, yeah, I killed his family, murdered his family, wife and child," and like he's getting strangled by the Wookiee. I thought that was the funniest thing.
I do like the implication then that this Trandoshan is apparently like, even though he hates all these Wookiees, he does bother to learn their language, so that when the Wookiee's threatening him, he's apparently able to understand what he's supposed to say.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Wookiee gets to go full circle and show up a little bit at the end, and you realize that he's still kind of having a rough go at it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the overall themes of what are now 3 stories are just long-term induced trauma. Like, I mean, Rystal's story is just she's just captured, she's just dumped on for an extremely long period of time. Shizor ruins like 20 years of her life just because he wants to. And this comes from like real, like I have like an aunt or something, and like her ex-husband's been trying to control her from like across the country for like 10, 20 years. So like I based that off of a lot of real world crappy human behavior. And but yeah, then Nebuchadnezzar, the Wookiee, like he gets out of slavery, but then he's like stuck on like, the Coruscant underworld, bumming around and not being able to do anything for a long time and living with just the trauma of his family being murdered and being a slave.
Yeah.
And like that's still a story. He's still a real character, and he's just got a deal. So
Yeah.
Maybe he can get his happy ending in Tales of the Underworld.
right, yeah.
Yeah, maybe he can.
I do have some plans for him.
Yeah. And then I guess Velvy maybe gets the happiest ending,
Yes.
where she, even though she loses, even though the one to get decapitated ends up okay.
Yeah, her head's been in Prince Shizor's skyhook in like a drawer for like 20 years. And so when his skyhook plunges to Coruscant, I have it pop out of the window and land in somebody else's like bedroom window.
Yep.
And gets found by this little kid that's like, "Oh, look, this droid head, I'll turn it on." And Velvy tries to not let her know that like she's an escort droid or like a sex droid, basically, and try to make like, I'm in customer service.
Yep. Yeah, that was kind of funny.
But then I
There
set that up
was-
and like, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of parts in the story where a lot has to happen really quick. Like this could have been a novel almost, and there was a lot you cut, right?
Yeah, I mean,
And-
I basically had 90 pages and it got cut down to 30, so it was just
Dang.
first
And
jump.
then some of that turned into the Ristel Sant tale, which we actually ended up talking about briefly in the other roundtable, but once again, you're running your own little tales you got set up You're moving on up in the world, going from
right.
from artist to author and artist to now editor and author and artist for this Tales from the Max Rebo Band.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then I think you picked Yowzer.
Yo, yo.
Finally,
Sure,
getting
he's
his
a great
moment.
character. I hope you like. I have some really good bits. I think in my Rystall stories. Let me know what you think. I mean, I think
Yeah.
if you want to go in a different direction with it, that's cool. I can make some adjustments, but
Definitely.
Yeah, it's a whole nother world doing the editing thing.
sure. You have
And
my great respect, and I'm sure that's a really tough job.
yeah, and I wish you the best of luck with that. I don't know how much support I can commit, but
Sure.
it does seem like a fun thing to get the whole rest of the crew their tales. So was your Rystal Sant tale, was some of that just like copy pasting the 60 pages of BD that got cut out, or was most of that rewritten from scratch?
I mean, it's just that whole thing is one story, and it just got cut up into 3 parts, like the
Sure.
BD3. And I mean, I treated BD like originally the BD3000 was sort of like C3PO and R2D2 introducing the world of like A New Hope. Like it's their story until it isn't, and then the heroes take over. And so it's BD3000 story until it isn't, until the other characters take over. Is basically what the
Yeah.
And so now Rystal just basically has a big cameo in the BD3000 story, but then that just segues into escape. Yes, the second 2 parts are escape from Prince Shizor and escape from Jabba the Hutt. So she ends up escaping to. She is getting captured and escaping from 2 of the biggest gangsters in the galaxy, incidentally, and being
pretty
saved
impressive.
incidentally by Lando Calrissian both times.
Times. Is there like an epilogue follow-up with that where she gets to, like, after the second time, like, tell Lando, like, hey, by the way, I don't know if you remember me from the first time, like, but this is you've done it again, dude? Or does
Oh yeah,
does
absolutely.
Lando get to know of his weird recurring involvement with Raystal?
Absolutely, because I have him down on his luck in the Jedi Prince series, where he loses Cloud City to Zorba the Hutt, and so he's just
Oh,
lost that card game, and Rystal Sant and Zhao and Griata are in the Palpatones in their own band, separate from the Max Rebo band, and they get a job specifically at Cloud City because Rystal wants to thank Lando for saving her twice, and also it's just like her big thing is you saved the whole galaxy from a giant murder weapon cruising the hyperspace lanes, and so she has a big Lando tribute song that she sings for him, and since he's about to become Baron Administrator of Hologram Fun World, she offers to be like an opening act to celebrate that. So I have her as a giant hologram
wow.
in Hologram Fun World singing her her thank you Lando song for saving the galaxy. Hero of the Galaxy Forever, I think is the
Wow. That sounds like a good ending to the book.
Yeah.
Now I feel a little spoiled.
I have a
All
question.
right, yeah, spoilers, sorry.
So in the beginning of the BD3000 tale, she's like in a hut's mouth looking for
Yeah.
a thing. So who is that hut? What happened like just before all this? That's my
So
question.
the idea the Prince Shizor tale and Tales from the Boon to Eve Classic has Shizor making significant inroads with the Hutts.
Mhm.
He impresses them, and now he's doing business with them. Cut
Yep.
to A.C. Crispin's Han Solo trilogy. The Hutts are not getting along with Prince Shizor, and there's Hutts actively telling other Hutts, don't get involved with Prince Shizor. So this is
Yep.
like a segue. This is a transition where he's just had a ambiguous falling out with the Hutts. I don't even have a name for that Hutt. It's just this is
Okay.
an opening set piece. It's meant to be, stick in your mind. It's meant to be, interesting and just
Right.
show that, hey, he's no longer getting away with getting along with the Hutts, and I'm introducing BD3000 in an interesting way and establishing what her relationship
Definitely a
is
memorable
like.
first scene. I was like, what am I reading? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's going on? I was lost at first, then I got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You-
Yeah,
the
it
name
was
is-
kind of hard for me to visualize because like I was so confused about like how big BD 3000 was, and I know we went back and forth in the comments a little bit on that, where I wasn't quite sure if this was anatomically possible, but yeah, I think the memorability is definitely worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. And I appreciate your notes. Like I added some bits to clarify what kind of droid she is and what the dynamics there, and hopefully that helps out.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's sometimes where like I wasn't quite sure if in the early drafts especially like it's never really explained what a luxury droid is, where it's like, is this a Guri type of deal? Because like sometimes she's talking about her nails, and I'm like, well, that's very human. And then she's talking about metallic feet, and I'm like, well, that's very not human. Like, where exactly in the spectrum of, between a C3PO and a human replica droid are we dealing with here?
I mean, she's pretty much at the C3PO level.
Yeah.
Her failure serves as the impetus for Shizor to be like, I need a better droid. And so
Yeah.
then he discovers that there's a underfunded human replica droid project in the Empire, and he starts funding that, and it takes like 12 years to get going. And so that's how.
Yep.
Yeah, so she's not a human replica droid at all.
Yep. They do. Those show up a little bit in the Coruscant Knights too, doesn't it? With the early human replica droid program.
There's something like that. I looked into it a
Yeah.
little bit, and I didn't see anything.
It seemed
Like,
like it was
with-
pretty early or early on in that point as well, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe I should double check and find out.
Yeah.
But I mean, Masad Thrumble or whatever his name is. I mean, there's a pretty. I mean, Guri's like definitely like the first one of that series at least, or something.
Yeah, because nobody understands. Like everybody's caught off guard by her.
Right.
Nobody's like, oh, that's obviously a human replica droid.
Yeah. And then she has a definitive or like 10 years prior to Shadows of the Empire, so that sort of set that date in the chronology.
Sure.
And so yeah, it took because I start the story at the Opera House, and because it's like 12 years to that point where she's created. That's how I established that it took 12 years to develop her.
Yeah.
You
One
said
of the
you added a bit to show what kind of droid she is. I'm assuming you're going to draw her, not Caesar, or at least not just Caesar for the first page of your tale.
Yes, I was just finishing her drawing right before this stream, and I basically have it set up to where Shizor is creepily hovering over her with his hands on her shoulders, and she's just standing there innocent. And
nice.
Basically, they're both portraits. I originally had a setup where it was Shizor with his hands on her shoulders, and no, it was actually Rystal was the one who he had his hands on his shoulders, and then the BD3000 was standing on one side, and Guri was standing on the other. So sort of a transition,
he's like showing the succession of women that he's interested in.
Right. Yeah.
Well, sort of women-ish things.
Right.
One of the things that I noticed a lot in your tale is there's definitely some like summary paragraph type deals where there's a paragraph that's like, whoa, that's a lot happening there. If you could pick like one moment, if you weren't worried about word count and you could pick like one moment to expand on and flesh out more and get to see in detail from your story, what would it be?
I guess most of the BD3000 is pretty much exactly what I want it to be.
Hmm.
I mean, a lot of times when I write, like I'm just trying to set continuity, and then just copying and pasting like the source book descriptions of things, just so that I have it in the stream of my thinking, so that I can organize like when things happen and what things have to happen. And even if I don't use it, like it's just there as a reference point for like anything I do want to show or not. So yeah, sometimes there's just things in there that are it's like a paragraph of exposition or whatever that may come or go or get expanded upon, but I can't think of anything in that particular. I mean, at one point I wanted to do more aliens that she goes up to and like hits on or whatever, but then just like, at some point, just like it gets not just repetitive, but just too much. Because I was basically going to do like the, I don't know what the guy's name is, the rules of seduction, and like pick like all 7 or 8 whatever seduction styles, and make sure I have a story that or a little bit that has her exemplify all of those. But I think it was just too much, and obviously if I did all that, that would blow the story up even more, the word count.
That could turn into a little like parody with the Inara Kuat tale, where it's all centered around the rules of persuasion.
Yes. Actually, I like that a lot. I just read that story, and I like that the parallel of she's having a really good day. She's basically winning, and Shizor's having a really bad day. He's basically losing. And so I added a bit with them confronting each other to basically just butt heads. And also that was to establish that in the Mandalorian, or the Bounty Hunter Wars books, Quat and Black Sun are at odds, and they're sort of distant rivals. So I established their rivalry here as this is the near the origin point of why they just don't get along, and they're kind of tiptoeing around.
Yeah, I wonder why Shizor keeps making so many enemies. Like such a likable dude.
Right. Yeah, I didn't like him at all as a kid in the 90s, but I can't say that he's grown on me. I'm more indifferent.
I liked him in the 90s simply because he was so different from the other Star Wars bad guys we had at that point. Like he was this, sleazy. He was bad. It was even in the context of the 90s. It was bad, but it was a different kind of bad. He was like, from one angle, he was this super cool gangster dude, but on the other side, he was groveling to the Emperor and thinking he can beat Vader as the Emperor's right hand. I mean, knowing as an audience member who Vader actually is, he's so overconfident in his own abilities.
Right.
Yeah.
And I try to play that up a bit of Shizor's confidence versus other characters being more competent.
Yeah, it's cool to see him get to be not always successful. Because in Shadows, and I guess in Shadows of the Empire, he comes to his demise ultimately. But you do get the impression of, where he seems to be on a pretty big winning streak in terms of like most of his official appearances up until his death, that kind of comes out of left field almost.
Right.
Where Vader just suddenly decides to destroy him, and it's just like, oh, I don't know why that didn't happen sooner, but good to know that he finally got around to it.
Yeah, I love Shadows of the Empire. Like I remember, like when they just had the thermal detonators and they were just like destroying buildings.
Drop it in the chute.
I tried to put that in my Outliner tale, where I just have thermal detonators, and then someone was like, "Don't do that."
Yeah, there's definitely got to be different models or something, because there's just no way you can reconcile some of the.
It's like Model 3.
Which and it obviously makes sense that there would be different. There's you look at real world tech. There's different levels of everything. But yeah.
It's funny in the games you'll throw, like in Battlefront, you'll throw a thermal detonator and it's like a coughing baby. But then in Shadows of the Empire, it's like a nuclear bomb.
Right.
Yeah, they're in like a giant skyscraper, and
Yeah, and it
it's
just
like
goes.
we're gonna blow up a thermal detonator, and it's gonna collapse the entire thing.
I
I mean, I
definitely
think
adds
that's
tension to Return of the Jedi. Like
Yeah,
when C-3PO is like, "She has a thermal detonator."
right, and I think that's
Wonder
what they were doing was they were
Yeah.
establishing like, this is what it can do, and so that's like, oh my god, Bosch
I
is
love
gonna
that.
blow everybody up.
Yeah,
Could be
Shadows
the
of the
same
Empire. It
thermal
might be my
detonator for all
favorite.
we know.
I don't know. Like it's in my top 5 so far for Legends novels.
I
Just
guess
need
there
to-
was one story that kind of does that. This is going to be a real deep cut reference is in the Fantasy Flight Games books. There's these little like one-page stories at the beginning of each one. And in the Hired Gun source book for mercenary types, there's the short stories about these characters. They get in a fight at a cantina. Well, one of the other characters is in the bathroom, and then this weak way comes out of the bathroom and throws throws a thermal detonator into the crowd, and everybody evacuates the building until it's just the main characters left. And they're like, "Did you just break up our fight with a thermal detonator?" And he says, "No, I used the fake thermal detonator decoy. The real one's right." And he reaches into his pocket and he says, "Oh shoot, we gotta get out of here." And then it cuts, and they're standing around a smoldering, just annihilated cantina. And say, "All right, I think it's time to go to a different planet." And
Wow.
that story, I
That's
read
amazing.
that. I got that source book maybe 8 years ago, and something about that story just like stuck with me in my head, where that cracks me up.
That's pretty hilarious.
You know, in Skywalker's, the clone of Anakin that's in the tank dies too. Oh, the clone of Obi-Wan too. They're both incinerated by a thermal detonator, and it was like half Anakin's fault. And Obi-Wan's like, "Anakin, why'd you let that happen?" And Anakin was like, "Hey, it's not my fault." Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Any other thoughts on BD 3000 before we move to Sweet?
We've covered a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
I think a nice overarching thing is you didn't you asked every writer like when can you come in for this questionnaire, and we three were able to sit with you together, but you couldn't pick three authors with more different stories if you tried. We have a horror story. We have a BD 3000. It's a comedy. I can't call it anything other than it's a comedy with a little bit of drama on the side, and mine
it's
is
like a political thriller almost.
yeah. So there are three completely different things, and that's what I think is cool about Star Wars. Like things you can have all these different genres that just take place in Star Wars, and I think the official writers don't use that enough.
And all this happens in like the same week, which is just hilarious to me.
I think I wasn't part of Outlander Club myself, but I read somewhere that a lot of these stories featured someone murdering someone else.
Oh,
and people were like, do we have any story where nobody dies?
Yeah, that was kind of became a funny thing that just sort of happened by accident because everybody's sort of coming up with ideas at the same time with these Tales projects. So when you're coming you've kind of dealt with this too, right? When you're coming up with your idea, you can't look at the other Tales because they're not done yet. So
Right.
you're kind of just on your own, and sometimes you end up with a lot of people coming up with similar things. So yes, murder was a massive theme in the Outlander Club, and there were a few stories that then were able to kind of reference that, where I think there's one story where they go back to the Outlander Club like a few weeks or maybe a few days or like a week after the movie, and yeah, there's like there's like 3 police there, and they're like, "Oh, what's going on?" And the police are like, "Yeah, there's just been this string of murders over here, so we're gonna hang around and see what in the
Wow.
world is up with this neighborhood. Like, I don't know, walk to your speeders in pairs or something."
I think
But
only
yeah.
one person died in my Outlander tale. I'm surprised by that.
You almost killed Snay, or
Mhm.
I mean, it sure looked like Snay was gonna die, and then she didn't, and then she got to show up again in your Set Hearth tale.
Yep. Comatose still. It's
Yep.
my epilogue for the last one is a year later after this.
I got to kill Warwick Davis.
Oh,
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
wow.
Well, not exactly. I got to reference him having been killed, and then
Oh.
you see it. I did not increase the murder count because I just centered my story around a murder that had already happened,
Mm.
which was in Samantha's tale.
Mhm.
I had my character investigate the murder and get it completely wrong, and it's kind of a funny little murder mystery deal.
I always love like incorporating like fan theories into the fan fiction, where like um in my Snay Woad tale, like the 2 characters, they're like, what if Higo Damask is still alive and is controlling everything from behind the scenes? Because like I don't know, it's not adding up. So like I remember there being all these theories that Plagueis was still alive, like when the
Yep.
sequels were starting to come out. And so and like with them unraveling the truth of the clone army, which is in that tale, I was like, I'll throw that in. That's fun. And I do something similar in this one. I don't remember exactly what it is, but yeah.
Yeah. And there's some like kind of spoilery type things where they just like talk about Ewoks defeating the Empire.
I love that. That was great.
In VD.
It's like truly they
3000.
topple empires, I'm sure.
There was one. Where was it? Oh, I know. In the epilogue, there's some Jar Jar references in the Leia tale. I don't know how many of
What?
you have looked through this.
Can we like go over that for a second? Like
There is a scene in there. So the whole deal with the Leia tale is it's a bunch of despot references that Palpatine is using to sort of make these veiled threats toward Leia to try to make her back down from her rebellious activity. Because he kind of knows she's doing stuff, but
is this
well, he knows, but he doesn't have enough evidence where he feels like if he, because right, the big plot hole after Force Unleashed is like, well,
right?
why is Palpatine still allowing all these rebels still in the
Yeah.
Senate? So
That's
in this situation, like right before A New Hope. So like the
okay.
Empire pretty much knows that Leia's doing all this rebel stuff, but they generally feel like it's more of a risk if they kill her and turn her into a martyr. So
Right.
Palpatine thinks, well, I need to get Leia to just back down quietly. And the best way to do that is these sort of veiled threats. And he then gets the idea of like, well, Leia, just something about her reminds me a little bit of Anakin. And you know how I got Anakin to do what I
Oh,
wanted was
angry.
taking him to the opera and telling him a story. So that's what I'm going to do with Leia. And he takes her to this play about Zim the Despot, and then
Is it called the Despot's Dream?
it's called I call the play the Despotica. It does reference the
okay.
Despot books
Despotica.
quite a bit. So
Right, it
one of the
would.
big plot lines in the Despot books is that Zim has a court jester, Oziath, who is way smarter than he looks and who's actually kind of a major player in this whole thing. And Palpatine, and then I think first I specifically mentioned that there's a Gungan senator in the booth, and then Palpatine's like, it's so silly. I think this Oziath character is interesting. But can you imagine, like, this is obviously a fabrication of the playwrights. Like, who would believe that the greatest tyrant in the galaxy would be manipulated behind the scenes by some bungling goofball?
Oh, Jinky Minus.
Yeah, I don't know. It might have been a little unsubtle, but I couldn't resist. There's a lot of very on the nose references throughout that Leia tale.
Yeah.
There's another thing where he talks about where Zim, the despot, his final fate or purported final fate is that he's defeated by the Hutts and they take him back to Varl to be a slave, and he dies this miserable death in Hutt dungeons. And Palpatine tells Leia, like, wow, could you even imagine having something like that happen to you? Yeah, it's
won't have to in like 5 years. But
5 years. Anyway,
man,
I think one thing, your stories all, you said your stories are different, but I will say one thing I think you've all got in common is you definitely grasp the whimsy of the Star Wars universe, where I don't think any of you ever fall into the trap that I sometimes do of wanting to take it too seriously and really fretting about believability and those sorts of things where there's obviously like, I'm not saying your stories are just like super out there, but there's definitely a lot of just elements in all three that I think are really fantastical and kind of have a degree of not taking themselves too seriously, I'd say.
The wise words of George Lucas: Star Wars is for 12-year-olds. So.
Well,
but
none of us are 12, and we're still
not anymore.
Although compared to, although maybe you feel like a 12, maybe you maybe some here think that you're basically 12. That's always like my parents, like they'll refer to like anybody under the age of 30 as 12.
Oh wow. My dad, he'll come up into my room and he's like, wow, imagine how much money you'd have if you weren't obsessed with Star Wars. And like, yeah. But in that we're talking about
but then what would you do with your money? Where's
right?
the money?
Like saving? Ridiculous. I really like in the sweet tale, the changeling wife. That was I thought that was like really good. So let's talk about.
It's really touching. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, definitely time to start our last tale here of the three we discussed. Was the changeling, was that what got you into Sweet?
No, the being a dinosaur was what got me into.
I like dinosaurs. That's
I love dinosaurs.
I like my Star Wars aliens like out there. They don't need to be human. Like, give me a dinosaur, give me a hut, give me
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm a huge believer in that as well, and it always irked me that so many aliens are humanoid. I kind of understand with the movies where it's like, you've got a budget and you need to actually have somebody fit into this costume. Like, I get it, it's complicated, but I feel like if you're writing a comic or a novel or an RPG source book, it's like you have no excuse. You got to make your aliens as wacky as possible.
So that's I was really glad that Conquer Kill was still available because dinosaur, of course. But the changeling wife, it was something that was decided very early on. It was maybe the first decision that was really made because we were talking about Swite being in the booth with Palpatine when Anakin entered, while Anakin just went by him on the stairs. Supposedly these are the same character. They just, like the Gungans that we discussed earlier, like this is just the same model, the same eating the same clothes. And I just thought, what is the most fan-wanky way to deal with this? I could ignore it, but I can also accept it and try to weave it into the story. How can I make this true without going for, Anakin went for a loo break in between. We just don't see.
That was my theory.
And I couldn't remember who that was. I was going to bring that up because I know we discussed it. And then Kasuga said she was going to write a tale called Flush, the story of Anakin's bathroom break.
I remember that, yeah.
And I just about died laughing. I totally forgot about this other comment then that followed up of that there's like a Jedi youngling in the bathroom that says, Master Skywalker, my zipper is stuck. What are we going to do?
Wow.
And taking out his lightsaber like he does in Revenge of the
Crazy.
And somehow I read through that. Somehow I read that on the Discord and completely forgot about it. And it was only as I was reviewing the Discord, like, messages scrolling way back up to review, like, what are some questions to ask about Sweet, that I just rediscovered that comment. And I was at work. I was supposed to be working, and I was just, like, dying over at my desk.
Wow.
I don't know. Maybe in an author's cut of, or I don't know, a little special version of Tales from the Galaxies Opera House, we'll get that as like an epilogue.
Wasn't there like a thing where they had like the comic books that were just kind of what if stories or something? That
Tales, yeah, or Infinities.
Infinities.
Yeah.
There's two kind of non-canon, well, there's a bunch of different non-canon type of comic book things. You had the Infinities that were these bigger stories that would take one little thing and change it and then like figure out what would be a logical way for the universe to progress from there.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some tales that were just like one-shot goofiness. And
Skippy.
Then, like
George
Skippy.
R. Banks.
And then there was the Tag and Bink comics, which were like sort of a parody where everything sort of followed the movies, but there was all this goofiness happening in the background. My favorite one there that sticks with me is that Tag and Bink protagonists have to go get the second Death Star plans from a little diminutive human by the name of Manny Balkan.
And Tag and Bink was the first time Darth Plagueis appeared in physical form. He didn't look anything like he ended up looking like, but that was like they're just looking at Darth Plagueis as he destroys the planet Krypton. With the Force. And it's just like, yep, obviously. It's all canon.
But he's not immune at that point. He's
No,
just a human.
no, he wasn't immune until like 2007. He's in. Actually, have the book right here.
I was thinking of the novel play. Oh wait, that was earlier, wasn't it?
Yeah, this was
2007. That's
2007.
right. Sure.
I'm doing a kind of. This is my first time writing like an official fanfic, but I have been a Star Wars RPG leader for over a decade.
Cool.
Leading a group in it's kind of a what if scenario that starts with what if Darth Plagueis didn't choose Palpatine as his apprentice, but someone else, and that someone else is a Shadow fan. So the little bad guys, I might be pronouncing it wrong. Chadra fan.
Probably right. I
mouse?
would say Chadra fan.
Sounds
And
familiar.
I'm gonna look up in my book.
From
Yeah, this was the first
Abe's species.
canon
Yeah.
interpretation of Plagueis right here.
yeah.
Yeah, that's in 2007. And George Lucas is already like, yeah, make him a moon. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's a pretty good Lucas impression. Anyway, Chadra fan Sith Lord. That sounds goofy. I don't.
Funny.
So it ends
I
up
don't
that all the small species are important in this story. Like quite would have been sent to Naboo, but because Palpatine is Palpatine, it's a Chadra fan. 2 people are sent to Shad instead, and those are the player characters, and they are both small species. So everything is about how it all is human-sized, but there are these small species that have to try to get around too.
Nice. That's good.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
instead
I just
of
looked it up. Yeah, the
Palpatine's
Bat
prejudice
guy.
that like only humans matter, this is the prejudice that only the small furry creatures matter.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Pick your prejudice.
Yeah. So, one of the other things I thought was so funny, and I don't know if this was intentional, but I just got such a crack out of reading the first scene of your story with Senator Mina Tills, and you somehow managed to write this scene in a way that comes across as very naturally, but when you go back, Mina Tills is never referred to as a he or a she. It's Mina Till's gender is kept unspecified, which I loved so much because
It's on purpose.
yes, it was on purpose. Okay, good. Because I was halfway worried that you just did that accidentally, and then I was gonna just confuse you. But yeah, I thought that was a really great way to work around the retcon. Because officially,
There's a confusion about what gender Mina Tills officially is.
yes.
So I left it in the middle on purpose.
Yeah. So officially, in terms of re-expanded, Mina Tills would be a female because that's what Dave Filoni made her in Clone Wars. But in the EU prior to DCW, Mina Tills was male. So I would
How do you
definitely
spell that? 1 second.
Mina with
MEENA Tills with 2 L's.
There it is.
Cash registered person. So anyway,
Oh, I see. Yes.
Filoni changed Senator Till's gender, and it's like item number 70 on my list of things that he messed with in the EU. But I don't like including references to his retcons, so I was very glad to see that we avoided that issue.
Yeah, that's why I left it unclear. So whatever gender you prefer Mina to be, he or she.
Works. Nice. And then you got to cross over a little bit with the Turts and Neil story.
Yeah, I got a couple of crossed. Most importantly, with the people in the booth, of course. But the one with Tur is it Tur? Am I pronouncing it right? Turts and Neil. It's Neil. The writer for Tennille approached me like, "Is it okay on Swite?" At that point, I knew I wanted to make the story about like how does this small-time senator, how is he affected by this, and why is he even in the booth? Because we know he signed the delegation, the petition. Like, why is he there? How does he end up? We know he has been jailed for a little bit. And I hadn't quite figured out yet why he would be jailed beyond signing the petition. And not every senator who signed got jailed. So there must be something special.
Sure.
So that's why I said, yeah, sure, bug him. they wanted Palpatine to find out too. So I did that, and it became the reason why Swite is jailed in the end, because I'm not sure. I don't recall if I spell it out completely, but Swite is assuming his agenda, that he's at two places at the same time because of his changeling wife. That's why he's being detained.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that made sense.
Yeah.
Which way? It was like reading it. I was like, why is he being detained? No one else was detained. And then, it all came together really well in the end. And also, I love your inclusion of what's his name, the Asogian senator.
Spielberg.
Spielberg spelled backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah.
I was looking at the senators who signed the treaty, people I could get into to jail with him, and you see ET, you use ET. It's no contest.
Yeah, I even mentioned the Asogians in my tale, like with their extragalactic missions, like what they're proposing. Like I just in a blurb.
That was in that data pad they were reading or something.
Yeah.
That's one of the 20 things that gets listed there, I think. Just a real quick passing mention.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like a bunch of Waru stuff too. Yeah. Just random things I thought of.
Yeah. Yeah, Waru. Everybody loves Waru.
Everybody loves Waru. Why wouldn't you love Waru? But yeah, I love the Asogians. I remember watching The Phantom Menace when I was like 9. And I was like, oh my god.
I'm in a podcast.
For the longest time, I thought the xenomorphs from Alien were in that scene too, but I cannot find them. I was sure for the longest time they were in that too. Find them.
Yeah, I think there's something that looks pretty much identical to a xenomorph in a comic.
It was really supposedly in the Senate scene in Phantom Menace.
Mandela effect, maybe. Because I know the Supernatural Encounters folk did some stuff with the xenomorphs. But I don't know if we have time to go down the whole Supernatural Encounters rabbit hole.
No. I do little nods to Supernatural Encounters in my tale, but I only skimmed little parts of it, so I'm not gonna go into detail and things I write because I don't know enough. I just know once I write a post, if they let me, if I ever do a post Swarm War tale, Set Hearth would be reading Supernatural Encounters and be like, why am I not in this? What the heck? And then you'd throw it away. That's the only thing that I have for that. Yeah.
And also, of course, so we had Greeblips, we had Goom Sam, who was supposed to get his own tale, and then regrettably did not work out. So you were kind of free to do what you wanted there. But probably the biggest named senator to get included would be, of course, Jar Jar Binks. You're the character that you enjoy so dearly. Getting probably more of a favorable view than most authors seem to give him.
Right. But it argues against the Darth Jar Jar theory.
Yeah, I always prefer my own theory is that he's not Darth Jar Jar. It's something that was used in the Knights of the Old Republic comic about the main character. This guy is proof that the Force has a sense of humor. That's my explanation about Jar Jar, because he gets into a lot of trouble, but he seems to get out of them too. The whole thing, most things that people use as an explanation for Darth Jar Jar, I say no, this is just an idiot who's being saved by the Force constantly.
Yep.
So
or saved by sweet Conquer Kill, making sure he doesn't knock his glass over.
Yeah. That's talking about deep cuts. That's a reference to the Detours leaked episode that hopefully some people have seen. But if not, the scene works if you haven't seen it. But in there, the insurance company refuses to pay out X of Gungan. Because
I remember that. I remember when those were leaked. I watched them all. And it was great. Wish it came
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot leaked, I don't think. I think there's
Yeah.
still a lot out there.
they had like 35 finished episodes. I might be wrong on the number, but they had a lot of finished episodes.
And we've got what, like one or two that are
one and
visible on YouTube.
Yeah.
the one with the diner is the only full episode, to my knowledge, that got leaked.
I think that's a Zuckus and Forlom as the main characters, isn't it?
Yeah, it turns into a hostage situation with them as the hostage takers.
Yeah.
Two good characters to put together, because as a kid I was confused by both of them too. They look alike so much.
Zuckus, they both have a certain insectoid kind of deal going on. I love Zuckus and Forlom. I did Tales for them in a non-re-expanded Tales project. That was super fun. I always felt like I felt like it was a shame that the direction, they had such a cool tale in Tales from the Bounty Hunters, and then the Bounty Hunter Wars trilogy kind of retconned all that, or just ignored all that, and then later sources had to retcon everything together.
Right.
And it was kind of haphazard. But I got to write multiple personality disorder Zuckus, like where you actually see him switching between both things. And,
Wow.
And was kind of it ended up being a really, really strange tale, but it turned
The
out.
best kind. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, they always seem to end up strange.
Yeah, I was happy to use Jar Jar. Yeah, I always liked him, and I said this before, but I was struggling to leap from the opera scene to the Declaration of the Empire. There were a couple of things I had in between there, like Conquer Kill has signed himself now, and he's trying to get others to sign, and then the war with the Wookiees happens, and a lot of people after that battle withdraw their signatures, so I was going to reference that. And in the end, I threw it all out, and I said, I'm going to put Swite with a friend, and they're going to talk together, and he's going to just mention these as part of the conversation. So you can get... you can move past those mentions. You don't have to make whole scenes about them, and you get to see a senator turned off. He's just himself now. He doesn't have to figure out how to be a senator. He's just there with his friend.
Right.
Yep.
And I don't know if this is original from your story, but I liked how he was then Senator Binks by the end, because Padme passed away. He's no longer Representative Binks. He was now Senator of Naboo. I thought that was a good detail. I don't know if that's from you or not.
It's not from me. He did in EU officially become senator after Padme died.
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and for all we know, it could have been him in the Opera House scene that I wrote right before A New Hope, because I never named the Gungan that's in Palpatine's inner circle. I felt like that was kind of the best way to go about that, where you can imagine what you want of it.
Right.
It's a big galaxy, which is of course the final of Sweet's tale.
Yeah.
That was a-
There's
Nice
more than
little-
6 Gungans out there. We'll put it like that.
Right.
Yes, there are more than 6. Although maybe not if Sheezer has his way.
Or,
Yeah, he does actually kill all 7 Gungans.
Oh yeah, he
Yeah.
does. Yeah,
I mean, Velvy might take out 1 or 2 of them, but
yeah.
And all of them are Ottawa Gungans. Like Boss Nass was a completely different type of Gungan, and you never see that type of Gungan again. You
I
only
thought he
see
was just fat. I didn't even know that.
it's a
Yeah,
different
the
type.
Ankara Gungans need more appearances.
He does the telltale way of seeing that he's not just a fat Jar Jar Gungan is his eyes aren't on stalks.
Oh wait, you're right. You're right.
yeah.
He doesn't have a bill. He doesn't have the long ears. Like
He has the long, and he has them tied behind his head.
Right.
oh, does he?
Okay.
Okay.
Later on,
Yeah,
when
it's-
there are you see his back, and they're tied behind him.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, it's such a that was such a random thing in Phantom Menace where like
Yeah.
they never explain it. Like I don't know what you were supposed to think before all the source books and related material came out of like was Boss Nass gonna be are you supposed to think that Boss Nass is a different species? Like because they never addressed it or make a point of it. And you never see any other Gungans that look like Boss Nass.
It's what I like about Star Wars. Some things are just there to be weird. I mean, the cantina scene was weird for the longest time until they made Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina, and they gave everyone a name and a backstory. And George Lucas is just, how can I make this look cool? And that's what I like about it.
I do apologize. I have a mild emergency. I need to go, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Good
no
luck.
worries.
Yeah, no worries.
Great talking with you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, and thanks for all your work you've done with us. Have a good one.
Thank
Okay, and then there were 2. I don't think he's gonna miss too much anyway. We're probably be close to wrapping up anyway, because I think that's most of my thoughts on Sweet and on the Set Hearth Tale. But yeah, the Sweet one just it ends on such a nice note. I thought with the prison break, that wasn't originally how it was supposed to go. You're supposed to just get kind of this underwhelming release from prison.
A lot of senators were just temporarily detained, and before we did the whole bugged thing, and yeah, they're going to find out about the inconsistencies in his schedule. Because when you remove the hero's perspective, what he does is like very illegal. Like having someone else impersonate you, that's a big no-no, and especially in politics, of course. So when I figured out, like, okay, he's probably not getting out right away, like I should add a whole prison break, and it's it kind of to the later half of the story, like it was it gave it more of a heart too. I think it's like I kept it small on purpose. Like my stories, not the length of the other 2 stories we are discussing right now, maybe even a third. So adding that it gave it more, so to speak. It was nice to figure out how to weave it in, because the ending is still basically the same thing, except they weren't just they hadn't just escaped out of prison. They were still in the ship looking out to space. So that didn't change much.
Yeah, it definitely feels more earned and significant with his wife coming back for him and getting that a little bit of drama at the end rather than just a release.
It gave her more agency too. She isn't just a character in his story. Hopefully there's a feel like she could have a story about how she ended up disguised inside the prison to help him escape, how she got there, which may be another time.
Yeah, there's definitely potential for some of that. With it definitely, some of these things just make me think. One of the Tales pitches, there's been talk of what's going to be the next anthology of books getting so big. Can we split it up? Can we have something going on in addition to Life Day? And one of the ideas that always cracks me up is the recursive Tales from Tales, where we take the side characters from the Tales, these guys that are in the background of the Tales stories, and then they get their own stories. And you just kind of flesh out the universe in this like spider web of expanding tales. I don't think that one's gonna happen, but maybe eventually
down the line, like once we have like 20 more tales Tales anthologies out.
Yeah,
I know I'm minority in the group of people who appreciate parts from new canon. I'm going to tread very carefully here.
I'm with you there. So we're again. It just doesn't.
I'm not a huge minority. I don't. I think everybody probably could name something. I think it's just a question of how minuscule.
I can understand for these past 3 tales, like keeping it to the EU. I feel like the 3 sequel movies each have a scene with so many different characters in it that just are begging for a Tales kind of thing, like Mas Kanata's castle in the first, the casino in the second, and just the entirety of the resistance base in the third. I think there's a lot of. I mean, for instance, for the last movie, you have Claude, which I always like because it's a non-humanoid alien. Like he's a mechanic. He's a mechanic, and he doesn't have arms, and that's something that critical.
I want to speak.
So then I think Pablo came and wrote a bit about Claude, like he's in the resistance because of a case of mixed identity. I'm like, I want to hear a story about this. This would be cool to read in like 10 or 15 pages in some weird Tales book.
Right.
Yeah.
So
maybe how about you on that similar front of what's your hope on the next Tales?
Well, I already have 2 tales that I'm writing, or that I'm supposed to write for the anthology. It's going to be Luke's Jedi Academy.
Oh yes, you're in Praxium.
So yeah, I've not started work on them, but I have ideas for what I want to do. So one of them, you'll be surprised by this. It's not set hard. It's TO, and it's just TO unraveling the history of Yavin 4 and its complicated past with the Jedi and Sith. And so I'm going to bring in things from Jedi Prince, and I have to do more research, obviously, but like definitely Tales from the Jedi, and I think it shows up in either KOTOR or SWOTOR, or both. I don't remember, but it's just gonna be TO and figuring out the history of this planet and thinking about what happens going forward with it being the center of the Jedi Order at this point. Then she's gonna go to Luke with everything that she finds, and Luke's gonna be like, "Wow, that's cool." And the other one is just Set Heart, and he's gonna be looking for Kyle Katarn because Set Heart, his master whose name escapes me, but he died in the thought bomb on Rusan. And that was like the only Jedi that ever really understood Set Hearth. And if he hadn't died, then he might have never become who he did. And so it was like after that, that set on the downward or upward trajectory that he eventually went on, with him being stuck on Coruscant with people that just didn't understand him. And so it's him like going to the Valley of the Jedi he thinks he's going to release the thought bomb because he found this new hyperspace route to get back to Rusan, because after the Sith Wars, hyperspace routes were all weird for some reason, and there was like a supernova or something that made the route to Rusan weird. So that's why. I think it's explained in Dark Forces, not Dark, like in Jedi Knight.
That's right.
But basically, it's gonna be after that, and he's gonna find that the thought bomb has been released and his master isn't stuck in there anymore, and he's just gonna be like, And he's gonna find out, oh, so Kyle Katarn did that. He wants to go thank Kyle Katarn, but then he goes to the temple and he's not there.
Huh.
And that's kind of the story that I'm gonna tell with that.
Very fun. Yeah.
And there's a bunch of Dark Times ideas I have for him too, but that was just the next opportunity I had to write for him.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Praxium will be interesting to see how that one goes. Like Ben's Tales from the Max Rebo band, Praxium does not have an official editing team involved. So, well, Nick I think is a little bit involved, but he's not the main guy. It's mostly Grievous being so we'll see what he's able to pull off.
And then with Max Rebo Band, I want to write something for that. I just have to pick a character.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
won't
you've
be Set
been
Hearth.
talking about that.
Yeah.
I managed to get your Yauza, the Yazzle.
That was the character I wanted to pick, and then I found out that you had taken him. I was like, oh well, he'll do well. It's all right. So yeah, I gotta find someone else. I'll figure it out.
Yeah,
if I have time.
Yeah.
I'm playing a Yazzle in someone's RPG right now, and it's the most insane character we have walking around. Like every time we meet him again, he's getting weirder.
Yeah, Yezums have some weird stuff, like culturally, don't they? Yeah. Anyway, I think any closing thoughts from either of you? I think the discussion of future tales is always a good note to end on as we look towards the future. Although by the time this will be out, I think we'll have made an announcement regarding the other big one that is happening, which we don't know 100% for yet. We have a pretty good idea of what's coming up there. So, two can stay tuned on that. But
I'm looking forward to see the final product. I've been reading a bunch of stories while they're in progress, and
it's fun to be able to see the polished ones for sure. And very soon, I think we'll be getting to a point where we can get this thing off to the printers and on some of our shelves, which will always be really fun. So then I can complete my collection of the prequel trilogy real printouts, and that definitely adds to making it feel more official. But anyway, as we come up on the 2-hour mark, our longest interview thus far, thank you very much for your time and for all our people who stuck with us. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you in whatever interview may be. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for